My husband's mother called me a maid. The whole table went quiet. She looked me in the eye, lifted the serving spoon, and said, "The help does not eat with the family. You can wash the plates later." Then she passed the big bowl of food over my head to my husband. Mark laughed. He did not look surprised. He did not stand up for me. He laughed. I sat there with an empty plate in front of me, my stomach tight, my face hot. That house we were sitting in, the shining marble floor, the chandelier above the table, even the chairs we were using, had been paid for with my inheritance from my late father. The business that fed everyone at that table had my name on the first check that made it possible. But in that moment, I was the help. "Mum, you are too much," Mark said, still laughing, wiping his eyes. His mother, Linda, smiled in a proud way and patted his hand. "A man must keep his home in order," she said. "A wife must know her place." I felt my hand shake under the table. I wanted to stand up and shout the truth. I wanted to tell her whose money she was sitting on. I wanted to remind Mark who had saved him when his own company almost crashed. Instead, I slowly pushed my chair back and stood up. "Where are you going?" Linda asked. "To do what the help does," I said quietly. "To clean up." They both laughed again, like it was the funniest joke in the world. Nobody at the table stopped them. Nobody said a word for me. I walked to the kitchen with empty hands, but my heart was full. Not with love, not with hope, with a cold, heavy decision. In the kitchen, I picked up my phone. My fingers still shook, but this time it was not from fear. It was from anger that finally found its voice. I opened my messages and scrolled to one name. Carter, my lawyer. The one who handled my father's will. The one who set up the papers for the house and the business. The one who knew exactly where the money had come from and how it was written. I typed slowly, so I did not make a mistake. "Good evening, Mr. Carter. I need to see you urgently tomorrow morning. I want to talk about my house and my husband. It is serious." I hit send. The reply came faster than I expected. 9 a.m. at my office. "We will talk." I looked back toward the dining room, where I could still hear their laughter. They were laughing now, but I knew something they had forgotten. The house and the business were built with my inheritance. Not his, not theirs, mine. And if I wanted, I could make sure Mark walked away with nothing. As I wiped an already clean counter, my heart whispered a promise. Tomorrow, everything changes. I was not always this cold. I was not always this angry. There was a time when I would have cried in that kitchen, wiped my tears, and told myself that maybe they did not mean it. There was a time when I believed Mark would protect me, no matter what his mother said. Back then, when we first met, Mark was different. I met him in a small cafe near my office. I was rushing, holding a file that contained details of my father's estate. He had passed away a few months earlier, and I was still learning how to handle the properties, the cash, and the small company he left behind. I bumped into Mark at the door, and my papers scattered everywhere. "I am so sorry," he said, kneeling down at once to help me pick them up. He had a kind face, warm brown eyes, and an easy smile. We sat at the same table that day by accident. Then we started meeting on purpose. He listened when I spoke about missing my father. He encouraged me when I talked about trying to grow my father's small transport business. "You are so smart, Emily," he would say. "Your father must be proud of you, even in heaven." Those words made me trust him. When I told him about my inheritance, he did not react badly. At least, not at first. "That is a big gift," he said. "You must be careful. Many people would use you for that. Including you." I had asked, half joking. He laughed and shook his head. "I would never do that to you. I want to build a future with you, not take from you." And for a while, it seemed true. We got married in a small but beautiful ceremony. My cousins and my mother came. His friends came. Linda came too, of course. That was the first time I saw a hint of who she really was. During the reception, she pulled me aside. "You seem like a good girl," she said. Her smile did not reach her eyes. "But remember, my son is not your project. Do not think you are better because you have some money from your father." I was shocked. "I never said that," I replied quietly. "You did not need to say it," she answered. "Just remember, You are the wife. He is the man. Stay in your place, and we will be fine. I told Mark later that night, when we were alone. Mum is old-fashioned, he said, kissing my forehead. Do not let it bother you. She will get used to you. I believed him. Then came the business idea. Mark had always wanted to own a logistics firm. He knew routes, numbers, and planning. I knew money and structure. If we combine what we have, we can build something strong, he said one evening. We can make your father's name proud. We sat at the dining table in my rented flat. The air was warm, and I remember feeling hopeful. Are you sure this will work? I asked. It will, he said. But we need capital. I do not have enough savings. You have your inheritance. We can use part of it to start, then grow from there. He did not ask for everything. Just enough to seem fair. Enough to make me feel safe about trusting him. We went to Mr. Carter together. He helped us set up the documents. My money went in. The company name was in both our names. The house we later bought was in both our names. Everything looked equal on paper. On the outside, it was a partnership. But deep inside, it was my inheritance fueling the dream. At first, it was good. The business grew. The trucks multiplied. The staff increased. We moved into the big house on the hill, the one with the wide driveway and shining windows. I walked through the empty rooms on the first day and whispered, "Dad, I hope this makes you proud." Then Linda started visiting. Her first few visits were helpful. She would tell the staff how to cook, where to put the flowers, what time Mark should eat. Soon, her voice grew sharper. "Why is there dust on this shelf, Emily? A good wife wakes up before her husband. Why do you let him do so much work? A man should not be tired when he comes home." She never cared that I also worked. That I went to the office. That I managed finances and staff and meetings. In her mind, I was always falling short. And slowly, I saw Mark change. When we were alone, he was still soft, but in front of her, he wanted to impress her. He allowed little jokes. "You are turning my son into a houseboy," she would say. "I am the one doing the work, Mum," I would reply. "You talk too much," she would snap. Mark would chuckle and look away. The first time he laughed when she insulted me, it hurt. But I forgave him. The fifth time, it felt like someone pressing on a bruise. And then came the dinner night. The night of the empty plate. Linda had insisted on cooking, for her son, to celebrate a big contract the company had just won. We invited a few staff members and a family friend. The table was full of food. Roast chicken, mashed potatoes, vegetables. Everything smelled wonderful. I placed plates on the table for everyone. When it was my turn to receive food, Linda lifted the bowl, looked at me, and froze. That was when she called me a maid. That was when Mark laughed. That was when something inside me broke clean in two. And that was when I texted my lawyer. That night, after everyone left, I slept with my back to Mark. He did not notice, or he pretended not to. His breathing was calm and heavy. Mine was not. I watched the clock until morning. By 8:30 a.m., I was dressed and ready. I wore a simple black dress and tied my hair back. I looked myself in the mirror and almost did not recognize the woman staring back. Her eyes were not soft anymore. They were steady. I picked up my bag, walked past Mark who was still in bed scrolling through his phone, and headed for the door. "Where are you going this early?" he asked lazily. I looked at him for a long moment. "To fix a mistake," I said. "What mistake?" he asked, frowning. I did not answer. I closed the door behind me and walked to my car. As I drove toward Mr. Carter's office, my heart pounded. Not with fear now, but with a cold kind of courage. I reached the office, walked inside, and sat down opposite him. He looked at me over his glasses. "Emily," he said, "you look tired. What is going on?" I took a deep breath. "I want to talk about the house and the business," I said. "I want to make sure that if my husband wants to treat me like a maid, he will walk away with nothing." Mr. Carter leaned back in his chair, studying me. His face grew serious. "If we do this," he said slowly, "your marriage may not survive. Are you ready for that?" My hands shook a little, but I kept my voice steady. "After what happened last night," I replied, "I am ready for the truth. I am ready to protect what my father left me." He nodded and pulled a thick file from his drawer. Then, Emily, he said, opening the file, it is time we talk about how much of this really belongs to you. He turned the first page and began to speak. And with every word he said, I could feel the ground under my marriage start to crack. The moment Mr. Carter opened the file, I felt the air in the room change. It was quiet, but not a calm kind of quiet. It was the kind of quiet you hear just before a storm starts. He placed the file between us and tapped the top page with his finger. Emily, he said, before we continue, I need to ask you one last time. Are you absolutely sure this is what you want? I nodded. Yes. He pushed the file toward me. Then you need to understand something first. Legally, almost everything tied to your inheritance still belongs to you. My eyebrows lifted. Even the house. He nodded. Yes. The house was paid for entirely with your money. Even though both your names are on the deed, the law sees it differently when one party contributed the full amount. And the business. My heart jumped. The business too. He opened another page. You provided 90% of the startup capital. The money trail is clear. Bank statements, receipts, transfer records, all of it shows the funds came directly from your inheritance account. My chest tightened. I knew I had put in a lot, but hearing the number said out loud made the truth heavier. Mark's contribution was mainly his time, Mr. Carter continued. Time is valuable, yes, but time doesn't override money when the investment is this unequal. I leaned back in the chair and took a slow breath. I wasn't smiling, but for the first time since last night, I felt seen. I felt like I wasn't crazy for feeling used. What are my options? I asked. There are 3, he replied. 1. You let things continue and hope he treats you with respect. No, I cut in sharply. He nodded without judgment. 2. You separate the financial assets and freeze access to the business accounts until we review ownership properly. My fingers curled around the arm of the chair. And the third option. He closed the file gently like he was sealing something inside. Divorce. And in that case, considering the evidence, Mark would leave with almost nothing. The words hit the air like a heavy stone. I felt a strange mix of sadness, relief, and fear swirling inside me. I whispered, I never thought marriage would end like this. Mr. Carter looked at me, his voice calm. I know. But disrespect is like a crack in a wall. If you don't fix it early, the whole house falls. Those words stayed in my chest. Before I could reply, his phone buzzed. He silenced it and continued. If you want to separate your assets legally, we start today. But once we do, things at home will change fast. I swallowed hard. Start the process. He opened the file again. Very well. I'll draft the letters. Mark will be notified within 48 hours. For a second, I imagined Mark's face when he'd learn everything was under my name. That he had no right to make decisions, no right to control, no right to treat me like I didn't matter. But before I could settle into that thought, something else flashed in my mind. His mother, Linda. I remembered the way she looked at me last night, like I was dirt on her shoe. Her laughter echoed in my ears. The help does not eat with the family. She did not know she was sitting in a house bought by the help. I stood from the chair. Thank you, Mr. Carter. Please go ahead. He walked me to the door. Expect things to get bumpy, Emily. I nodded. I'm ready. But I wasn't. Not fully. Even though I had chosen this path, a part of me still felt tired. Not because I didn't want justice, but because I never imagined my own husband would force me to fight for what was already mine. When I reached the car, I sat in silence for a full minute before turning on the engine. I looked at my phone. No missed calls. No texts from Mark. He didn't even notice I had left the house upset. I drove back home slowly. When I reached the gate, the security guard waved. Welcome, madam. I nodded, but my mind was far away. I parked in the driveway and stepped out. The house looked beautiful but cold. Like it wasn't a home anymore, just a building filled with secrets. As I opened the front door, I heard voices in the living room. Familiar voices. Voices I did not want to hear. Linda's voice. Sharp and complaining, like a knife scraping a plate. Then Mark's voice. A little annoyed. A little confused. I stood still and listened. Linda said, "Your wife walked away last night. She embarrassed me. How can you allow such disrespect?" Mark sighed. Mum, she's sensitive. She gets upset easily. Sensitive. Easily. My jaw tightened. Linda continued, you must handle her. A man needs control in his home. If you don't check her now, she will walk all over you. I took one step into the living room, but they didn't notice me yet. Mark replied, laughing softly, don't worry, Mum. I know how to deal with her. She will calm down. Linda smirked. She better. Because I will not have a maid pretending to be the madam of this house. The room spun for a moment. I felt heat rise in my chest. I stepped forward fully. Both of them turned. Mark's face softened. Emily, there you are. Mum and I were just talking. I lifted my hand. I heard everything. Linda crossed her arms. Good. Then you know your place. I looked her straight in the eye. My place. I repeated slowly. You will see my place very soon. Linda scoffed. Is that a threat? I shook my head. No, it's a promise. Mark stepped closer, frowning. Emily, what's wrong with you today? I smiled, but it wasn't a soft smile. It was the kind you give before a storm hits. You'll find out, I whispered. And at that moment, something happened that none of us expected. A loud knock hit the door. Strong, firm, authoritative. Mark turned in confusion. Who's that? I knew. My heart knew. My stomach knew. That was the sound of the first domino falling. When he opened the door, the man standing there held a brown envelope with my name and Mark's name printed boldly on it. Good morning, the man said. I have official documents for both of you. Mark froze. Documents? What documents? The man held out the envelope. This is a legal notice regarding ownership and asset review. Linda gasped. What nonsense is this? Mark turned to me slowly. Emily, what did you do? I looked him in the eye. Calm, steady, cold. I fixed the mistake, I said. The envelope shook in his hand. And this, I added, is only the beginning. Mark opened his mouth to speak. The moment Mark tore open the brown envelope, the house went silent. Even the air felt heavy, like it was waiting to see what would happen next. He pulled out the papers with shaky fingers, scanning the first page. His face slowly drained of all color. Linda stepped closer. What is it? Give it to me. He didn't give it. He couldn't. He just stared at the page like it was a snake ready to bite him. I stood still, watching him. I didn't rush. I didn't explain. I let the truth sink in. Finally, he whispered, asset, separation. Freezing accounts. Legal, review. His voice cracked on the last word. Linda snatched the papers from his hand. Her eyes moved fast, left to right, up and down. She gasped loudly. What is this? She shouted. What nonsense is this? You want to destroy my son. I raised a calm eyebrow. Your son destroyed himself. Linda pointed a shaking finger at me. You evil woman. How dare you do this after all we have done for you? I laughed quietly. All you have done for me. What exactly have you done except insult me in my own house? Mark stepped forward. Emily, why? Why would you go behind my back? You went behind mine for years, I answered. You allowed your mother to disrespect me. You laughed when she called me a maid. You forgot the house belongs to me. The business was built with my money. Not yours. He opened his mouth but couldn't form words. Linda shoved the papers against his chest. Mark, don't stand here like a fool. Tear it up. Tell her you're the man of this house. He looked at her, then at me, then at the papers. Something in his eyes flickered, fear. He whispered, if these papers go through, I'll lose everything. I stepped closer, my voice low but steady. Yes, Mark, you will. Linda stomped her foot on the floor. No, no, I won't allow this. She's trying to ruin us. She wants to break the family. Throw her out. Now. Mark rubbed his forehead, breathing hard. Mum, please stop shouting. Let me think. Think, she screamed. There is nothing to think about. She is the help. She does not control anything here. Her words hit me like fire, but not the painful kind. The kind that lights something strong inside. I looked straight into her eyes. No, Linda, you are the one who has no control here. She froze. You don't own this house, I said slowly. You don't own the business. You don't own me. And you don't control my husband's future anymore. Linda's mouth opened, then closed, then opened again. Before she could speak, Mark slammed the table with his hand. Enough. Both of you stop. He looked at me with eyes full of mixed emotions, anger, fear, confusion, something else I couldn't name. Emily, please, he said, his voice finally soft. We can fix this. You don't need to bring lawyers into our marriage. I shook my head. Mark, you already broke the marriage. I am just handling the damage. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You can't do this to me. I looked at him with an expression I knew he had never seen before. I already did. He inhaled sharply, like the words punched him in the stomach. Linda screamed again. Mark, say something. Defend yourself. He swallowed hard. Mum, she has evidence. She has the money trail. I didn't put as much as she did. Linda's eyes widened. So you're going to let her humiliate you? Let her take everything from you? Mark didn't answer. He just looked down at the papers, breathing like someone who had a heavy bag on his chest. I turned to walk away, but before I reached the stairs, a loud crash shook the house. Glass shattered. Something hit the floor hard. Linda screamed. Mark shouted my name. I spun around instantly. The center table in the living room had broken. But that wasn't the shocking part. The shocking part was Linda lying on the floor, holding her leg, crying in pain, and pointing at me as if I had pushed her, even though I hadn't taken a single step toward her. Mark, she cried. Your wife pushed me. She wants to kill me. I froze. Mark looked between us, panic rising. Emily, what happened? He asked. Linda screamed again. Don't listen to her. She did it. She pushed me because she wants the house to herself. I stared at her in disbelief. And then I realized something frightening. This wasn't about a fall. This wasn't about pain. This was about her next move. A new kind of attack. A new kind of lie. A new kind of trouble. Mark rushed to his mother's side, panic written all over his face. I stayed exactly where I was, my hands by my sides, making sure he saw that I hadn't moved even an inch. Linda clutched her ankle dramatically and cried louder. She pushed me. She pushed me because she wants to take everything. Mark, she wants you to lose your home. I blinked slowly. Linda, you know I didn't touch you. She screamed over my voice, liar. Mark, she wants me out of the way. She wants to destroy this family. Mark looked confused, his eyes darting between us. Mum, Emily was far from you. I didn't see her go near you. Linda grabbed his shirt. You weren't looking. Stop defending her. She is a snake. Her voice echoed through the whole house. And I knew, right then, that this was her new plan. If she couldn't win with insults, she would try fear. If she couldn't win with words, she would try lies. If she couldn't control me, she would try to paint me as a danger. Mark turned to me. Emily, please say something. I stared at him for a long, heavy moment. Your mother fell, I said quietly. I didn't touch her. I didn't go near her. She is lying because she wants you angry enough to fight me. Fight you, Linda hissed. Fight? Why would he fight his own wife? Unless you're planning something evil. I had to hold back a bitter laugh. She was frightened. She saw the papers. She knew she was losing her influence over Mark. She knew the game was ending. And her last move was to make me look dangerous. Mark helped her up carefully and placed her on the couch. She groaned loudly, even though her fall didn't look that serious. He touched her leg gently. Mum, calm down, he said. Let me see your ankle. She slapped his hand away. Don't touch me. Go and deal with that woman first. That woman, not his wife, not the owner of the house. Just, that woman. It didn't sting this time. It simply confirmed what I already knew. She was terrified of losing control. Mark stood and faced me again. Emily, please, we need to talk. Not like this. Linda's eyes sharpened. Talk? What talk? Throw her out before she kills me. Mark closed his eyes for a moment like he was trying to think through thick smoke. Mum, nobody is killing you. Please stop. Linda let out a loud, sharp cry and grabbed her ankle again. Oh my leg. I can't walk. She did this. She wants my son to be a beggar. I exhaled slowly. Linda, stop pretending. She gasped dramatically again. You see, she is heartless. No sympathy. She doesn't care. Mark held his head. I can't deal with both of you shouting. I need some air. He walked outside, leaving the door slightly open. Linda immediately turned her face towards me and smirked. A wicked, satisfied smirk. The kind of smirk someone wears when they think they've done something clever. I told you, she whispered. You don't belong here. I felt a cold calm wash over me. Linda, I said softly, this house was built with my inheritance. She rolled her eyes. And, it means nothing. My son is the head. A woman is nothing without her husband. I took one slow step closer, not in anger, but in clarity. Your son wouldn't even have a business today without me. You know that. I know that. She scoffed. His success comes from his bloodline, not your money. That business was destined for him. I raised an eyebrow. Destined. Then why was he drowning in debt the first time I met him? Her smirk vanished. Her face dropped. I know everything, I continued calmly. About the loans. The failed business before we met. The investor he owed money to. I paid off more than you think. Linda's face turned hard, cold, frozen. You talk too much, she whispered. And you lie too much, I replied. She leaned forward. If you freeze those accounts, if you take that house from my son, I will make your life hell. I tilted my head slightly. You already tried. And you failed. Her eyes darkened with rage. You foolish girl. Mark will never let you leave with everything. He loves me more than you. That's fine, I answered. He can keep you. I'll keep the assets. Linda froze. She didn't expect that answer. Not at all. Before she could respond, Mark walked back into the house. His shoulders slumped, his face pale. But his eyes were sharp, sharper than I'd seen in a long time. Emily, he said quietly, we need to talk in private. Linda tried to stand. No, Mark, don't leave me. She will attack me again. He looked at her flatly. You're not hurt, Mum. You fell because you tripped over the carpet edge. Her eyes widened in shock. You saw. I saw, he said coldly. Through the glass outside. She swallowed hard. The lie collapsed instantly. But it wasn't the end. Mark held up the legal papers. Emily, we need to talk about these. I nodded. I know. But just as we both turned to step away, something sudden happened. Something none of us expected. Something that changed the whole direction of the fight. Mark's phone rang loudly. He answered instantly. Hello. Yes, this is Mark. His eyes widened. What do you mean there's a problem at the company? He stepped forward in panic. What do you mean someone froze our company account? Who authorized that? His eyes shifted slowly toward me. Shocked, scared, confused. I didn't speak. Because I already knew. Mr. Carter had moved faster than expected. The company account was frozen. Mark staggered back a step. Emily, what did you do? Before I could answer, he dropped his phone. His face twisted with something dark. He stepped closer. And then, he said something that made Linda gasp. And made my heart jump. And changed everything in one breath. Mark stepped closer, his face pale and tight, his fingers still curled from shock. The house felt strangely quiet, even though my own heartbeat thumped loudly in my ears. He stared at me like he was seeing a stranger, not the woman who built a life with him. Emily, he whispered, did you really freeze the company account? I held his gaze. I didn't freeze your account. I froze my investment. The money behind that company was mine. Linda clapped her hands together, laughing sharply. You see, Mark, she wants to ruin you. She wants to bring you down. Mark ignored her. For the first time, he didn't even look at her. His eyes were locked on mine. Emily, why didn't you talk to me first? Talk, I asked quietly. Like you talked to me last night when your mother called me a maid. Like you talked to me when she insulted me for months. Like you talked to me when you laughed at my pain. He flinched as if I slapped him. I made mistakes, but this. Emily, freezing the account, that hurts the workers. The staff didn't insult you. A company built on disrespect will crumble anyway, I said. But don't worry, the employees will be paid. The law will allow funds for operations. What won't be allowed is you touching anything without my approval. Linda jumped to her feet, suddenly forgetting her broken ankle. I won't stand here and listen to this madness. Mark, tell her the truth. Tell her she can't do this. Mark didn't move. In fact, he didn't even blink. He was staring at the floor now, breathing heavily, like the world was closing in on him. Then he said something that stunned both of us. Something unexpected. Something raw. "Emily, I think I failed you." Linda's mouth fell open. "What? Mark, don't say that. Don't fall for her tricks." Mark lifted a hand, silencing her. "Mum, enough. Emily didn't disrespect me. We disrespected her." I felt my chest tighten. Not with love. Not with forgiveness. With something sadder, a tiny piece of what was left of our marriage breaking off and falling away. Mark turned to me. "I didn't protect you. I let my mother treat you like dirt. I let her control our home. And I never stopped it." "You laughed at me," I said softly. His shoulders slumped. "I know, and I can't explain that. I wanted her approval." Linda shrieked. "Approval? I am your mother. You owe me." "No," Mark said sharply. "I owe my wife respect. And I failed her." Linda took a step back, her face twisted in shock and anger. Mark faced me again. "Emily, please. Is there a way we fix this?" I studied him quietly. The man in front of me looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, emotionally. Like someone who suddenly realized they built their pride on sand. "There's nothing to fix," I said. "There's only truth. And truth has consequences." He swallowed hard. "Are you leaving me?" I nodded once. "Yes." Linda screamed so loudly the walls shook. "No, you can't leave my son. You can't take the house." I turned to her calmly. "I'm not taking anything that wasn't mine. I'm simply reclaiming what I built." Mark stepped toward me. "Emily, please, I'm begging you. I can change." "You had years to change," I whispered. "You chose not to." He dropped his head into his hands. I could hear him breathing hard, fighting tears he didn't want to show. I picked up my bag and walked toward the stairs, ready to pack my things. But halfway up, I stopped and turned. "I'll give you 30 days to move out," I said. "For the staff's sake. And yours. After that, the house returns fully to my name." Linda clutched her chest. "Move out. Us. Where will we go?" "That is not my concern," I replied. "Find a place where disrespect is welcome. This home is no longer one." Mark sank onto the couch, covering his face. It was the first time he realized he wasn't losing a house. He was losing the woman who carried everything he had. Upstairs, I packed slowly. I didn't rush. I didn't shake. I didn't cry. I felt free. 2 hours later, I walked down with my suitcase. Mark stood at the bottom of the stairs. "Emily, will you ever forgive me?" he asked quietly. "Yes," I said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean returning to pain." He nodded, tears falling silently. Linda stood behind him, arms crossed. "You think you won. You think this is victory." I looked at her one last time. "No, Linda, I didn't win. I simply stopped losing." And with that, I walked out of the house that my inheritance built, leaving behind the people who thought they could break me. The sun felt warm on my face. The breeze felt new. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like the world was open again. A few days later, Mr. Carter called. "Everything is finalized," he said. "Mark gets nothing. You are free." I smiled. "Thank you," I whispered. "It's time to start my real life." And that was how a maid they laughed at became the woman who walked away with everything she earned. And left disrespect behind with nothing.